All right, let's get our other Facebook groups in here. And we're getting the spinning wheels going. 1 and 2. Welcome in. We'll give ourselves a coffee sip before we get going here.
The big mug today, right? The giant Atlanta Braves champions mug.
It looks Alabama because of the red there for a second. You're down there in Alabama, but it doesn't have the mohawk on it, or what is it? The mullet on it. Yeah,
the mullet swoosh.
But welcome in, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, and I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as typically always, but from a new location, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how are you doing? How's the Central Time Zone treating you?
I'm doing good. Between, I think we've got just about everything covered. I'm usually in Eastern. Now I'm in Central. You're in Pacific, and Broncos country's in Mountains. So, and half our audience on Broncos for Breakfast is overseas. So
I was going to say
it's an international. It's definitely not a location, but a state of being.
Yeah, 100%. And welcome in, everybody. Good morning to you. We got Ethan across the pond saying good afternoon, gents in Broncos country. Got our guy Bradley saying good morning, Broncos country. That report doesn't give any news. However, I think tomorrow's the day we get their coach. God, who knows? Boom from Diamond Rattler. Let's go. We got Jeremy in the house saying morning, boys. In my opinion, it's back to 1A and 1B. Good either way. If it's 1A, keep an eye out on the Tanner Estranged. The passing coordinator who just left Detroit, maybe our next offensive coordinator. Yep. Shout out to Zan. Don't know who Zan really is on Twitter, but we talk a lot, and he's got some good insight on the coaching connections. Does a lot of work on that side of things, and he brought that up yesterday on Twitter. I saw Kevin Gray. Good morning, Broncos country, and Nick and Scott. Let's have a good day. Yeah, you have a great day, Kevin. We appreciate you coming in. Jetty Splash. Good morning to you. Got Jan coming in. Jan Bergman saying good afternoon all the way.
That might be Jan. You'll have to help us. Jan Bergmans.
Well, from the Netherlands.
Yeah, might be Jan.
Well, either way, thanks for coming in. Netherlands is a beautiful country. Stayed out and obviously visited Amsterdam. The Van Gogh Museum I'm not even a big art guy. That was a must for anybody heading out there. A lot of fun. Definitely have to get back to Amsterdam at some point. Bruce coming in saying, good morning, guys. I'm still crossing my fingers for Harbaugh. Been listening to MHH since back in the pre-recorded days. That's a ways. Broncos for Breakfast, my favorite crew, though. Appreciate the work effort. Well, that's really nice of you to say. We appreciate you identifying yourself as an OG and also building our egos. We're not above compliments in here, so keep throwing them our way. Bill Bruder, good to see you. We got Sunny Days with the thumbs up in the coffee. Our guy Jay Roper in the house. Dave Glassman, God bless you, Dave. Akey Dragon always coming in saying Broncos are about to make Russell Wilson a player coach. He was a player coach last season, Akey. What are you talking about? It was, or about to. Bama X, good morning, Broncos country. Colin Wood says, I say just hire somebody that can make Russ a viable quarterback again because that's our fastest way out of this morass.
I think it's more ass.
Yeah, God. Definitely more ass in here. The question is, what is the fastest way to make Russell Wilson a viable quarterback again? I mean, that's the big question outside of who's going to be coaching the Broncos, right? There's different opinions and avenues that could be shared. And also, I think the quarterback himself has a different opinion, or at least had a different opinion than what a lot of other people in the football believed. So that's the, what is it, $500 million question there, Colin?
Yeah, at least $250 million.
Yeah,
somewhere in there in that neighborhood. But yeah, Russell Wilson, again, he may not be who he was, but he certainly isn't the guy we saw last year. I've said that a zillion times. Seattle Seahawks fans that want to come in and do a, stomping on your grave, say stuff, like, well, what have you expected? He's been in the decline. Not this decline. The worst Russell Wilson we saw in Seattle would have been levels above what we saw last year. Get back to the worst Russell Wilson in Seattle, and you're a playoff team.
Yeah. Yep. Hopefully we see that guy this year, but we'll see. We got Steve Kennedy. Yeah, he came in yesterday morning to say hello when you weren't here. So I think Steve's actually here for me, not you, Scott. That's what I'm taking away from this.
Makes sense to me. And tomorrow's his birthday, so happy early birthday on Groundhog Day.
Happy birthday, Steve. We appreciate you coming in. We got Alex Salazar. What's up? Michaela, always appreciate our Mile High Huddle ladies saying good morning. Also got CC in the house saying morning all. Awesome to see you. Bobby coming in saying the big coach will be the water boy. Well, your name is Bobby, so you might know something there. Christoph coming in here saying morning. Ernie Mays. Ernie, we're going to talk about the draft today, so it's not only Broncos, but it will be a little bit of both. Keith Bergman, good to see you. Favorite way to start the morning. Coffee and Broncos for breakfast. We appreciate that. Eric Figueroa, good to see a Facebook user coming in saying, yo, not sure who this is, but Maybe it's Kaleon. We'll see. We got Chase coming in saying, relax, man. Oh, is Rogers coming? Everybody relax. Andre, good morning, guys. Andre, shout out to Andre. He came in and dropped the super yesterday when I was riding solo, so appreciate him. And Ethan came in with a big closing one as well. So you guys love me. I appreciate it. He says, am I the only one who thinks we're being taken for a ride? Also, go Chelsea. What do you think? Broncos country being taken for a ride right now?
I don't know. Again, it's hard to, until you get to the destination, you don't know if you were just being spun around or not. This could just be negotiating. That's what's taking so long. When you're about to drop $100 million on a coach somewhere in that neighborhood and may have to give up draft picks to do it, there's some negotiating that goes along. They could have their guy all along. I think I typed out yesterday. I said, I'm not going to call this a clown show until I see them pull up to the coach's press conference in a little car and 10 guys jump out of it in makeup and faces. It feels like that because there's just speculation, and that's all you have right now because it's radio silence coming out of Dove Valley. Now, where I was, the point I might have that I wanted to make last night while I was listening, so I can't listen to talk radio. I was like, I have to jump in. I can't take it. They're saying that nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. That's not true. That I firmly believe that some of the insiders know exactly what is happening, but you don't burn a source for one story. At all. I used to joke all the time when I talk to coaches. I'm like, listen, you may think I'm the lowest of the low, but trust my selfishness. There is not any one thing you could tell me that would be worth you not talking to me ever again. Because if you leak this, that's what's going to happen. So I'm sure there are people that know exactly what's going on outside of the Walton-Penner Group. But if they want to have a contact in the front office next week, they better keep their mouth shut right now.
One of my concerns is that the Walter-Penner Group doesn't know exactly what they're doing as well.
It's a concern. Yeah, I agree.
It's because you have, all this information. We'll get into it, no doubt. There's rumors running amok, and I'll just pivot. I'll paint them as rumors. Some of the things I asked around to multiple sources, and I think other people have said it as such. So I'll say it as fact. But then there's some rumors as well that we want to get into. Arthur Eugene saying, hey, guys, are you trading for Kyle Shanahan? That one's not happening, but who knows about some other candidates. Jess coming in saying Denver needs to end Kansas City. Tired of seeing them in the playoffs. You and me both, but I guess not the NFL. Peter saying good morning. Good to see you. We got Chris. Good morning, Broncos country. It is Kaleon. It's me. LOL. Good to see you. More Ass, a complicated or confused situation. Well, that's the new name of this show, the More Ass Podcast, because that's what you get with Scott and I. But appreciate you so much. Michael Ronquillo saying good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast.
Kicking us off with big stars, Michael. So appreciate you breaking the ice on that, getting us going on Facebook. Thank you, sir.
Hell yeah. Big stars. Just like Michael. We appreciate you. Peter, you're going to have to let us know what you're talking about here on this On3 Harbaugh report. And also there was Schefter yesterday on McAfee. I saw the big pause talking about the Broncos as well. I think Schefter and Rapoport kind of know what's going on there. But again, it's not confirmed that it's happening. So it's being hushed right now. They're not saying
they can't say, listen, we'll let you know so you're prepared when it's time, but you can't say this. And they're professionals. Again, there's not, they wouldn't burn a source just to be first on this story. It's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it.
Yep. And Dom in the house saying, good morning, Nick and Scott. Hope you're in Vegas. Scott's in Mobile, Alabama, covering the Senior Bowl. Vegas was the Shrine Bowl, and Shrine Bowl is, I hate that they're overlapping right now. I don't know what's going on with those things, but
I could have gone. They started practice. They did reports on Friday, and then on Saturday and Sunday, I could have made it for 2 days of practice and then been back Sunday night and drove down to Mobile on Monday. I had some stuff come up over the weekend I wanted to do. And as I was scrambling around Monday morning, trying to get everything that I want, including my computer, set up podcast stuff, I rented a new video camera, all this stuff. I was like, thank God I didn't fly home from Vegas last night at like midnight, because this is a lot of work.
It always is, more than you'd think. Chris Mann, good morning from the UK. Hoping today's the day our patience is rewarded. I don't know if it'll be today, but things are we're one day closer, right? That's for sure. Addison saying, "Sup guys, think the Broncos should go after Hunt." If you're talking Kareem Hunt, Broncos have to do the due diligence on that incident where he domestic assault. I mean, it's just is what it is. It happened years ago, but still it is out there, and it was an ugly incident. So they'll have to do work on that. But the Broncos 100% need to bring in another running back this offseason, maybe even two, considering where they're at the position right now. There's a possibility that Javonte Williams doesn't even play next season.
And right now, isn't he? Is he the only one that would be under contract? Latavius Murray is on a 1 year, and Chase is going to get cut.
Yeah, 6 million dead or
So
6
like,
million.
Beatty, any of those guys were all practice squad
Yeah.
types. So the only player you really plan on having under contract come March 15th or whatnot, when free agency opens, when the season opens, right now is Javonte Williams. So I would bring back Latavius Murray and I would go get another back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they need to bring in at least one back, if not two. It's pretty crazy to say that right now, but it's the reality of the situation where the Broncos are at the running back position. They're going to have to bring in somebody. But news of the day, I guess yesterday, Ian Rapoport on KOA Sports Zoo, as I pull up the quote here, said that the Broncos, quote, are going after where is it? Excuse me, guys. Great radio. Ian Rapoport. Denver does appear to be focused on a big candidate. So maybe that's taken a little bit more time, regardless of the head start they had this offseason. So what do you think? Scott, big candidate. The way they talk about that, he didn't say Harbaugh. He didn't say Sean Payton. It could be one of those two guys, but it does open the search a tad as well.
It does, but I'm looking at the names that people are putting in here. I'm like, those guys don't qualify for me. There's
For
only
big.
two in here. Yeah, there's only two in here that have been linked that would make sense. It's Peyton or it's Harbaugh. And I would say Peyton is the bigger fish in the media world than Harbaugh is. The big candidate is Sean Payton. That's who it is. Otherwise, it's puffery. Bruce Arians, no. Guy's been out of it for a while, retired, older. Anybody else, the Shanahan stuff, the Cowher stuff. I'm like, guys, let's be serious here, please. We're talking about a guy who's 7 years old who hasn't coached in over a decade. Yeah. And another one, we're talking a guy who hasn't been in the NFL in almost 20 years. Like, come on now, let's be serious about this. And those wouldn't qualify. Those would qualify as big reaches, not big candidates. As far as a big candidate is someone that would just about every team in the world would want. Not, okay, this is who we had to go get because we didn't get anybody else. That's not a big candidate. That's a big reach. Yeah. Real quick on this before I wanted to hit Keith before I forgot. He says, Scott, what makes you choose a Senior Bowl over the Shrine Bowl? One is proximity. I can drive here, but that's not the main one. The main one is the Shrine Bowl has significantly more NFL prospects than the Shrine Bowl. Did I say that backwards? The Senior Bowl has more than the Shrine Bowl. I think they had 80 guys, maybe 85 guys get drafted here. And last year, the Shrine Bowl had a record for the Shrine Bowl. I think it was like 35-40. So their record was half. So they're on the way up. So I was planning on going out there. As soon as I read that, I'm like, hell yeah, I'll go out there for 40 drafted guys. I don't care if it's the 6th and 7th round. I'll get out there. It didn't work out for me this year.
Yeah, it's not it used to be a pretty big discrepancy between the two. I mean, the Shrine Bowl used to be played on a couple of high school fields in Tampa, and now it's in Vegas and becoming a much more of a destination event. Again, I do wish it didn't overlap with the Senior Bowl as much as it does, just because it's information overload and scouts can't be two places at once. But is what it is in that front. Also, something just about Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl. We'll have a whole week to talk about it, but this might be the worst year for the Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl we're going to have in a bit, just because of the talent level and why. Yep. Well, just because I think that these are going to become even bigger and more important events because of NIL. Right. Players are going to stay in college longer, and we're still seeing the front end of that, where right now you have guys coming back for a 6th, 7th season, especially with the Rona year that a lot of these players have on top of it. But at some point, those guys are going to run out of their eligibility, and guys are staying in longer because of the NIL money. That means more guys are going to be qualified for the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl. I think we have a 5-year or 6-year low in terms of underclassmen entering the draft this season. Going to be more candidates for the Senior Bowl. Now, granted, you have guys like Tyree Wilson, Devon Witherspoon, who were in the Senior Bowl, and now they're out because they're probably top 15 picks. That's probably always going to happen. I personally would love to see a guy come out there and compete for like one day, dominate practice, and be like, yep, I'm the dude. See ya. Like Javon Kinlaw did, but what can you do? I don't fault those guys at all for making that decision.
I agree with you 100%. Now that you can earn a living in college playing a game that's generating billions of dollars for everybody else, stay. Yeah. And you can stay and make your money. It's a very good minor league development system, and now you're getting compensated for it
on the surface.
Yeah, you're getting compensated on the surface for it, but most of the guys are. And if you've got chances to play at that level, you're making some money on it. You're not the 85th guy of 85 scholarships. So, And even that guy can at least get, here's the $100 handshakes are still pretty prevalent there.
Depends on where you go. Gary Palmer coming in. God bless you, Gary. Coming in saying, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. So ready to move on, but we need a coach. Please, Greg, make your move. Hopefully it'll happen before the Super Bowl, but we'll talk a little bit about that. So the big candidates here, Ian Rapoport mentioning that yesterday in an interview. And thank you again, Gary. God, $20 is incredible to come in and support us like that. So that's amazing. We also have Todd saying, I'm not the only one. I'm not usually on during breakfast show. Hello, Jensen, Broncos country. Well, Todd, God bless you for coming in. Thank you.
Very busy in the evenings. Good to see you here in the morning.
Yeah, 100%. Morning's
got
a little.
He asked real quick. I'm just sorry to interrupt. Nick says, "Do we have any coaching candidates left? Who have you lost? Who really have you lost that you didn't turn around and say thanks, but no thanks to? Frank Reich? No. Dan Quinn? Maybe. Yeah. Could you have gotten Dan Quinn if you wanted to? Probably could have made that move. D'Amico Ryans is probably the only one I would think that you have lost of your top candidates. And if he was down the rung and you get somebody higher than him, you didn't lose him either. Yeah. So again, there's a lot of noise in this vacuum. And when you boil down to what has actually happened, let's say this is the first time I've been out of the country for 2 weeks, Nick. Catch me up on what's going on. Well, Frank Reich's been hired, and, well, that's it. Everybody else is still in play. Oh, okay, thanks. Sounds good. Looks like the Broncos can still get their guy.
My big concern with drawing this out as much as they did is the ability to build the staff around that head coach.
I'm not too worried about it, honestly.
I am. These teams are interviewing guys left and right, and also I can speak on this as well. A lot of the coaches that are currently on the staff are getting a little bit annoyed because they're still under contract, even though they know a lot of them are dead men walking. They're behind on that as well.
But the Broncos, what they're going to be doing at the Senior Bowl? It's going to be a job fair.
Yeah, 100%.
It's going to be a job fair. They're down here building their own staffs. I mean, they're figuring it all out. Each one of these candidates has a pretty good idea of, hey, if I get this, you coming with me? They know. Now if you want to think, well, why are they at the Senior Bowl? Are they falling behind? Not so much. I'm not too worried. It's so much more important about getting the best candidate possible over the course. You don't want it to go to March, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I mean, if it goes to Valentine's Day, so be it. It'd be the getting the best guy is worth it.
I agree. I still am worried about building the staff, considering you have teams laying off a third of their coaching staff and they're filling their positions now. Once those positions are filled, those are guys that you can't even consider. So you are behind the 8 ball in filling out that staff as well. And one of the big reasons that Hackett failed last season was because of how poor his inexperienced his staff was around him. So it's a concern. I'm not saying it's the end all be all.
But was that a timing thing, or was that I just don't know who I'm choosing thing?
It was a cronyism thing more than anything.
Right. But, so you can get the right guys. You still can.
I just want them to have the pool available, and the pool is shrinking. Peter coming in saying, Scott, are you going to use the relaxed speech from Rodgers about the coaching search?
I don't know the relaxed speech. I didn't actually see it. I do not jump to conclusions. If I liked school more, I should have been an attorney. I always leave myself, I always leave myself an out unless I'm absolutely positive. And I'm not. We don't have enough information. I'm not going to be judge, jury, and executioner with the speculation that's going on until I know the facts, not on speculative. And right now, a lot of the speculation is being created by people who are paid to generate buzz, so what's actually happening? Not much right now, at least that we can tell. So I'm going to wait and see. Yeah, for sure. Relax.
So timeline, talking about the head coaching search and getting back to the big candidate. But first, Clinton Watson, $5 super sticker. Thank you so much, Clinton. Good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a good week. So the Broncos last week, Penner and some of the Walton-Penner Group flew out to Ann Arbor to meet with Jim Harbaugh. Reportedly, they did not offer him officially a contract. The two parted ways. Now you have Adam Schefter saying yesterday he doesn't believe Harbaugh is a candidate anymore for the Broncos, but didn't say that he's completely out. So that one's kind of still, being pulled back and forth. Could that be from Harbaugh's people trying to get a little bit more power or money? Who knows? Could it be after signing day, which is coming up in just a little bit of time here? I'm not sure.
It's tomorrow. It's first Wednesday in February. But the thing is, Just going through this a little bit, they opened up an early signing period, which I was always against in the past because the LOI is the most one-sided contract in sports. At least it used to be.
Hmm.
Transfer portal has opened things up too much now. I could get into all this another time if we want to someday. Just ask. But with the early signing period, the first Wednesday of February is now almost a non-event. So we're looking at Michigan's class yesterday. It's like, okay, what about Harbaugh? They've got 23 guys signed and or enrolled already. Those guys are done. They might be waiting on a 1 or 2. Nicholas Harbor is still out there, that 6'5", 240-pound track 100-meter guy that's just a freak among freaks. I put up his video, and I still get comments on him. I know Michigan is in on him. That's about it. And Nathaniel says, can't kids decommit? No, they're signed. That's what I mean. It's not commitments anymore. They have written down on the LOIs. They are signed. 23 of them already. You can only bring in a max of 25. There's way around that. I've seen classes as big as 38. That's changed to a certain extent. Michigan isn't one of those classes. That was an old SEC type of thing. So 23 means they are full. Maybe 1 or 2 guys, and they are signed. Half of them are already enrolled. I think 7 or 8 of them are already enrolled. Third of them. So that's not really a thing.
Yeah, and SP, the Ned Master, coming in holding looks like a massive fish there. God, that's a monster. I'm saying, I can't tell if it's a crappie. What's going on? I'm saying, very refreshing to hear at Kennedy. So much bashing going around, so much speculation, and God, it's been a whirlwind of a coaching search, and I'm part of it. I'm here on the roller coaster.
The vacuum leads to negativity. People start to panic. The phrase I've used before, whether you're, you ask somebody out and they don't even get back to you, or you're interviewing for a job, or your kid's trying out for a team and they don't even respond, that's bad. You'd rather hear no than nothing. At least give me the courtesy to say, no, thank you. Mm-hmm. Nothing leads to wild speculation. Is she going to call? Is she going to call me back? Because I've interviewed. Are they going to call me back? Or, when is this going to happen? And your mind just starts going berserk. Nothing is bad. Well, it's a vacuum right now. And that is where everybody's brains are going, is all the worst possible scenarios.
Yep.
Because there is nothing being spoken with any kind of certainty right now.
Well, some more certainty on this end. The Broncos yesterday, I say this with pretty darn good certainty. Broncos yesterday reached out back out to D'Amico Ryan's camp as a last minute plea bargain to try to get him to come to Denver, visit Dove Valley before Houston, and consider Houston over Denver. It sounds like Denver was refuted by Ryans and his camp. Now you had reports later on that D'Amico has not officially ruled out Denver. Could that be a negotiating ploy on the Houston side against Houston? Lord only knows. But I do know that the Broncos ownership group made a strong overture towards D'Amico Ryans in his camp yesterday, and it was a thanks but no thanks return on that one. So the Broncos, that comes after flying out to Harbaugh yesterday. So Harbaugh still in limbo. Ryans, I guess, still in limbo, but less so. I wouldn't be surprised if the Houston announcement comes today.
Yeah,
but now,
come today.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all. But now, where does that leave us? Some information out there that Dan Quinn was interested in the Denver position, but maybe a little bit felt spurned by it because he obviously was secondary to Jim Harbaugh and D'Amico Ryan's like, well, fine, I'm going to go to Dallas. He might be in line to be Dallas's next head coach with how they are propping up Mike McCarthy right now. But I really don't know where that leaves the Broncos. You have Rapoport's report coming out on Sunday saying the Broncos have said thanks but no thanks to Caldwell, Ajiro Evero, Raheem Morris, and David Shaw. That's everybody.
That's good news if you're a Broncos fan, right?
Yeah.
You're talking like, okay, everybody feels like they're close to a big candidate. They've told half a dozen guys no, and I believe that. There's some what you're talking about. I always mention cross-reference sources, right?
Yeah, and I did on that D'Amico Ryan.
On that one, when you're talking about that, you did. That's exactly what it was. Yeah. So why did they do that? The Broncos source leaks out that he's been told no. Okay, well, that gets back to D'Amico. Well, we haven't signed with Houston. I'd like to keep Denver as a possibility so I can get a few more million on my contract out of Houston. I told you all that at the beginning of this search. The Broncos were going to be linked to everybody because they've got the deepest pockets. That's the way it works. It's like, well, I'll just go back I'll talk to Denver then. If you don't want to come up with another $3 million on my contract, I'll go talk to Denver. So you don't want to rule them out. But when you're turning away guys, doesn't it mean you're pretty close? Thanks, but no thanks. We've narrowed this down, and you ain't it. We've narrowed this down. Of course, that said, we've tried out guys for our baseball teams, and it's just they weren't good enough. Unfortunately, didn't mean I had somebody else in mind. I just knew, hey, you weren't the right fit here. I don't think that's the case here. You've got qualified candidates that you've turned away.
I think the Broncos. This is just me opinion. The Ryan stuff, I can say that with pretty damn good authority. That they made an overture again yesterday, and it was rebuffed on that one. So they really did like D'Amico Ryans.
Ryans is going to Houston. There's strings there, and like we've said before, rich is rich. If how much richer can you make the guy? He's going to get a contract worth more money than he'll ever need, his kids will ever need in his entire life at any team, the NFL. I kind of say this about, college football recruiting. So when you're recruiting a kid who's got family that's never been to college, they don't care the difference between Iowa and Arizona State's education level. They don't care. That's higher than it's ever been ever in their wildest dreams. If it's 8 million, 12 million, you know what? 8 million is more than I'll ever need. I'm going home. I'm going home to coach back at Houston, where it's home to me. Yeah. So I said before, it's good that money isn't a factor, but it's not the only factor by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. And you don't want it to be. You don't want it to be. If it is, you're getting the wrong guy.
Yeah, 100%. We got our super starting to pile up. You guys are killing it today. Scott and I are going to have a little bit of a shorter show today because he's got work to do. But we got to catch up on these supers. Saying Andre F coming in $10 saying, what do you guys make of Ian Rapoport implying that maybe D'Amico Ryans was put off by Penner flying out to meet Harbaugh? Well, I think Woody Page yesterday said D'Amico was their 1C candidate or something of that nature. I think that going into it, they wanted Harbaugh and Peyton, one of those two. And I think they were freaking impressed with D'Amico Ryans in the interview. Because after that interview, it came out about 24 hours later, like, he's our guy. Holy crap. Like, we love him. Maybe he is. Was somewhat put off by it. I didn't hear that about D'Amico. I did hear that about being put off about the flight. Didn't hear about it, D'Amico. Did hear that about Quinn. There is some interview, some rumor out there on a message board in Michigan about Harbaugh and all that stuff going on. Some people refuted it. Is it refuted or is it refuted like the hunting trip going on? Lord only knows. I'm not even going to make anything of that. But I think that there is some merit to Quinn being a little bit put off by the Harbaugh stuff and not being, wooed as much.
Too bad. That's too bad. I also think, what do I think of it? That implying that D'Amico's coaching for another team. He's interviewing with multiple teams. Mm-hmm. I got to fill a job. I'm going to go and get the guys when I can. This may be the only time I can come out to get them. It's easily explainable away. I'm not too worried about that report.
I'm with you 100% on that one. I do think that there is some legs to Quinn's relationship there. I also think there's some legs to how this ownership group is handling this search right now and how much power has been cut from George Paton. And that might be an issue with Dan Quinn as well, because he has very much been tied to George Paton in the past. And that's something that's speculation on my end, but I wouldn't be surprised if that has at least is a variable in that equation. Deanna coming in, always a variable in our equation, saying, morning, Deacon Scott and Nick. I'm thinking they are hiring Jim Harbaugh or Sean Payton. I'm great with either. Go let Penner work his magic. Hashtag MHH for life. Hashtag Broncos for breakfast. Those are the two left, right? I mean, out of all the guys, those are the two left.
It feels like it. Anything other than those two is going to be a disappointment, Deanna. I believe. It's hard. It's hard to come away from where you've been right now, where they haven't taken a job, no one else has been hired except for Frank Reich. If it's not one of those two, I think Broncos country is going to be a little disappointed. Yeah. And thank you very much. You never disappoint us, that's for sure. Especially, what time is it out there? What are we, 4 hours behind? It's 6 a.m. 6 a.m. in Alaska. So good morning and thank you very much.
It probably depends on where in Alaska, given how big it is. It's probably multiple time zones. But
could be on New York time.
Yeah, God, Lord only knows. Rock Chalk Broncos coming in saying, as much as I want a head coach send in, I don't want the Broncos to become desperate and give up too much in a trade with the Saints. And this is, again, me putting on my speculation hat coming in here. But you say big candidate. If the Broncos are, now in a position where it's like, hey, we might have to give up 2 first-round picks to get Sean Payton, why not open up the search even more? Make some calls saying, hey, what would it take? And you got Thomas coming in here saying, might be crazy, but how about a trade for Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin? They both may want to change the scenery, and Penner has a large checkbook. If you're already in the market of 2 first-round picks for Sean Payton, heck, what's going on, Bill Belichick? What's going on, Mike Tomlin? What's going on, John Harbaugh? Another one out there. Those are some big names. I don't think that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if the Broncos are at least making those calls. Also, the fact that we know the Broncos have interviewed and been linked to Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh. Why the vagueness from Ian Rapoport saying they're going after a big candidate when he's not breaking news? It's not. We know it's Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton unless there is some other at least calls being made.
I'm not buying it, dude. I'm
Okay,
just
that's
not.
fair.
I know
That's fair.
Thomas, I agree. Why not? Tomlin would be my guy in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
He's still got how long does Belichick still have left in the tank? I don't know. Tomlin, I think he could use a refresh and a new challenge. Rock Chalk talking about giving up too much to the Saints. That's part of this. You're in a multi-tiered negotiation if you go after Sean Payton. You have to come to terms with Payton. That may be the easy part. We want you to come do this. Okay, you can have personnel control here. That to me, the personnel control would be the big deal with Payton, not necessarily the compensation or Russell Wilson or anything like that, but how much control over player personnel you're going to have. And then you've got to make a negotiation with the Saints, and you have to make the appearance that you're willing to walk away at any given time. So that's going to take a little bit of time. I would love for everybody here, to pick Chelsea, and but follow. Today is also transfer deadline day. They don't deal in draft picks, or players. They deal in cash. Chelsea's about to spend 120 million euros on a midfielder, which is $150 million to buy out his contract, and the other team right now is saying no because they don't want it over 4 years. They want it all right now. It's fun. And it's you want to talk about the rumor mills and everything like that. It's exactly what this is. You have to come to terms with the player, the coach, the organization. So that's where I am on this, that it's a complicated deal if you're going after Payton.
No doubt about that. Thomas saying thank you, Thomas, so much for that. I think if you're already let's say the Saints are holding out for 2-1s for the likes of Sean Payton from Denver, I would be calling these other teams as well, just to see. I saw also Sean McVay tossed out here a bit. I'm more worried about the longevity of Sean McVay coaching than I am Bill Belichick at his age, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The other ones that are big candidates that would be interesting to me, I mean, why not make a call and say, I know it's definitely concerning and this doesn't always work out, but there's no harm in calling Lincoln Riley. You love it at USC, but what's going on down there in LA? Maybe Denver would be interesting to you as well. I can't think of any other college coaches other than Jim Harbaugh that would interest me that much. Maybe Ryan Day wants to get out of Ohio State, considering he plays incredible football and then loses one game a year and he's on the hot seat losing to Michigan. But who knows? And I love this too from Keith saying the hunting trip time correlated with the trip to see Harbaugh. I find that hilarious.
They were hunting. Coach hunting.
Yes. To be fair, I didn't hear that Rob Walton was on that trip to Ann Arbor, but rather his son-in-law, Greg Penner, and some of that group. But definitely hilarious. They're hunting and they've been hunting. Hopefully they don't come out of this hunting season starving, though. And also we got Gary Hoover saying, yes, you're right. We will be disappointed, Scott.
If it's not Payton or Harbaugh at this point, because you haven't necessarily lost either one of them, and no one else is. When you're, like I said, you're turning away qualified candidates. You're close.
Yeah.
You're close on the guy you want. And if you end up reaching for some of these off-the-wall candidates and we're bringing back Jerry Rosburg, you missed. You missed badly. Yeah. No offense to Jerry Rosburg, but you missed badly.
He was a fun story, and I enjoyed his press conferences, but not really qualified to be a head coach. And if you're doing that, batten down the hatches, get the tank brigade going. We're going for a quarterback in the 2024 draft, in my opinion. That'd be the path I honestly would recommend in that regard. Get them playing tough, cut out the noise out there, and doesn't matter about the win-losses. We're going to go cheap. We're going to try to get over the dead cap stuff and set yourself up for a better run long-term. Noah72 saying, give me Sean Payton. I am desperate at this point. Well, hopefully the Broncos, maybe that's why it's taken so long. Broncos aren't desperate. They're playing the long game, trying to wait out the Saints, because every day that goes by, there's less teams that are interested in Sean Payton. The value goes down next offseason as well, because then it's only 1 year of control left for the Saints contract. And Arizona started to ask for interviews with new candidates as well, making me think that Sean Payton in Arizona maybe not happening, but we'll see what happens there. There's just, again, we're trying to read tea leaves. The one thing I can say for sure is the Broncos did fly out and meet Harbaugh, and they did make a last-ditch effort yesterday to bring in D'Amico over Houston.
And they've told 4 of their 10, no, thanks, but no thanks.
Yes. Yep.
and a couple of them have bowed out themselves, like Dan Quinn. So the
Yep.
pool is shrinking, not expanding
Yet.
yet.
Yes.
Again,
We'll
like I said, I'm not going to call it a clown show until I see that little car pull up.
Yeah. Naj coming in 1999. God, you guys are killing it today. We really seriously appreciate it so much for everybody supporting us. You don't have to be like Naj or Ethan or Deanna coming in with the big supers to, be a part of the community. But God, it really helps us, so we
It
appreciate it.
helps. I got
God.
a new camera sitting behind me over there. That big one right there. See that little camera right there behind me? That's the one I shot with last year. That one next to it is the one I have this year. Upgrade, and I'm getting upgrades to try and bring 4K video to y'all because of people like you. I've always promised, as I've done this for 20 years, as we grow, I'll do my best to keep improving the product that we're delivering to you. And it's because of y'all. I'm trying to deliver on that. We're trying to deliver on that.
Oh, don't speak for me. I peaked. I've plateaued. I'm on downhill now. Naj, though, hey, brother, still disgusted by the Chiefs getting the win in another Chiefs game with suspect officiating. Can't imagine giving up 2 firsts for Sean Payton. Think it's a holdup. My guess, Rosberg is the backup plan. I don't think Rosberg's the backup plan. I don't know what the backup plan is. I think they're still holding out for Jim Harbaugh. I really do. I think they might give him an offer they can't refuse. They met with him in Zoom. They've met with him in Ann Arbor. They have not met with him in Denver yet. We'll see what happens there. But maybe it's Sean Payton too. Maybe after everything that's happened here, it's like, okay, Quinn, we're sorry. We loved you. Please come to Denver. We'll give Payton more power. We'll give you more power. We need you. Who knows? But we're going to get more information as the days go on. Fortunately,
our money guy coming in to talk money. So Ethan coming in hot pink. And this was, I think it was String Guy keeps quoting me, so it better be true. He comes in, he says, Scott keeps saying 60 to 70 million in available cap space. Well, this is how you get it. This is the easy part. Ethan comes in. Thank you, Ethan, the DWI guys over in London. He says, it looks like London outside my window right now. It's wet and foggy and about 60 degrees. Says, great show, gents. Food for breakfast thought. Cutting these 4 players saves 30 million against the salary cap. Glasgow, Darby, Edmonds, and Martin. Denver already has 12 million in projected cap space. Without these cuts, they have plenty of flexibility. Plus, 16 million just got added to the cap for everybody. Yeah. So when you have guys locked in, that contract might seem crazy now, but they're locked in while the cap keeps getting bigger. Your free agents are going to get more money. The new contracts are going to get more expensive. But when you have these guys coming in, again, it's going to be 60 to 70 million in available cap space by the time it's all said and done. Now you've got to get replacements for these players. But Glasgow, Darby, I'd bring Darby back on a lower contract, about half of what he's doing. Chase Edmonds, he was on 7, and Martin like 6, somewhere in that neighborhood off the top of my head. Depth players, they're not coming back on that money, but see what they do. You might Melvin Gordon a couple of these guys.
Yeah. And also you have 2 big contracts in Justin Simmons and Garrett Bowles that are easily renegotiated if you want to go down that path. Now you tie yourself to them even more so financially in the future, but you can do a cap maneuvering or an accounting maneuvering where you create cap now and then you roll it over. So you're just having it available today. But if you don't use it, guess what? It's still effectively the same moving forward. So it just gives you more movement in the here and now. But God, talk about the money guy. Thank you so much. 50 pounds, Ethan. We appreciate you so much coming in here and supporting us. So final thing I want to talk about here before I give you the floor a little bit on this, Scott. The Broncos do reopen the search here for new candidates. There are, I think, 6 candidates I would keep in mind. I know the Broncos wanted to come in and say that they wanted experience. Maybe they should have cast a wider net or even had like a 1-hour Zoom call or 2-hour Zoom call with a bunch of these guys. So that way they would not be on their first interview and already have permission to interview these players. I digress. You have the ones that probably are the most outlandish right now, just given the timeline, are the 2 Eagles coordinators and Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. I know that Gannon was considered the favorite for the Houston job, but now it's D'Amico. So maybe the Broncos circle back on Gannon. I know that he's considered a extremely interesting CEO type. A lot of people really respect him. I know that he's been an up and coming player for a bit. I don't know if you saw the press conference where Nick Sirianni pretty much like screamed almost at a reporter on for the Eagles radio talking about how great Jonathan Gannon is and how stupid they are. And like, we have 70 sacks this year. I don't give a flying hoot if we play off coverage and blitz. This isn't the Buddy Ryan days. We're being productive on the defensive side. Just because fans and people like you want us to blitz doesn't mean that we have to. Again, look at our production this year. First team ever to have 4 separate players have 11 sacks in the same season on the same team. So Gannon, Steichen, I would love them to bring in Ben Johnson. I know he said he's going back to Detroit, but I think he's a brilliant ascending offensive mind. Mike Kafka, offensive coordinator for the Giants. Then you have both coordinators for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Brian Callahan and Lou. I can't even begin to pronounce his last name. Big Lou, we'll call him. I'll look up the pronunciation of his last name. But those are the 6 candidates right now that seem to be on the upper tier for the first-time coordinators that if the Broncos get rebuffed by everybody else, they can circle back around on.
Or it could have been one of those guys all along. You just don't know until it's done. Like I said, the longer this goes, either they've got their guy or it's a guy from one of these teams that we're still playing. That's what history tells me. But here's my question on Callahan. He said thanks, but no thanks early in the process. But that could have just been a procedural almost saying, listen, I'm focused on this right now. I'm not talking about head coaching. I'm not interviewing with this. If y'all are still here when I'm done with this, fine. So I wouldn't completely rule him out of the equation just yet, even though he already kind of took himself out of that. And there's some talks in here. No, Mike Tomlin's not going anywhere from Pittsburgh. So that was, it's just, we're kind of joking. If you're going to, who would you go after if you were going to spend 2 draft picks anyway? Mike Tomlin's one of my favorite coaches in the NFL, period. The consistency there is in the respect he gets from his players and around the league. Would love him to be the face of my franchise.
Yeah. And Lou Anarumo, the name to keep an eye on. I know that
had to be a good Italian. Had to be.
Yeah, great name. I know he just got an interview with the Cardinals as well. What he's done the last few seasons with a Bengals defense that is okay in talent, but great in their matchups and scheming. He's a problem solver and definitely a unique player. The Bengals this season were the number 1 defense in the NFL in EPA given up in the second half. He's so good at the halftime adjustments for what he does. He can completely change the game script on that based on what he's seen. So he's definitely somebody that I would keep an eye on as well. Again, that's not a big swing, but if the Broncos have to circle back around on these first-time candidates, those are the names I would keep an eye on. We'll see what happens here. I think Jonathan Gannon would be my number 1, especially given the ties he has in that Philly organization and the Vikings organization, and it appears to be really well liked in the league. So again, building that coaching staff around him, but you have to wait until February, 12th to interview him. So will be tough.
And Jamie asks, is there a rule that you have to have a head coach by the draft? No, you don't. You could have an interim head coach whenever you wanted to at that point. So you don't have to. You don't have to have one by the draft. That's general manager. You'd like to have him in place by then, but there's no rule. And one of the things, Nick, and we disagree on this a little bit. We agree, but we disagree. It's kind of, we need a guy in place because we need to know what kind of schemes we're going to be running and going towards this stuff. Well, in the draft, especially, man, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not drafting for scheme. I'm not. I'm drafting for athletes. I'm drafting for players that are scheme independent. Now, can guys fit a little bit better in other schemes? Yes, but you've heard me say it a zillion times. If my guys are scheme dependent, they're not good enough. And I need some minimums. My linemen, can they hold up at the point of attack? That's one. And then I'm going to rank them by mobility and attitude. And I'm going to work my way down the board. And I'm drafting on that order. I don't care what my scheme is when I'm looking at those players. When I'm looking at running backs, can he catch the ball, block, break tackles? How fast is he? The scheme doesn't matter for me. Wide receivers, can they catch? Can they block? Can they run routes? I don't care about the scheme. I want the guys in this specific order. So I'm not overly worried. It's going to happen before then, y'all. Don't worry about it. There's plenty of time to figure out schemes and players that fit the schemes. Now, on the flip side of that, though, I think it matters more in free agency, Nick. I think it matters more in free agency where you're going out to get a veteran that you want to plug in right away. I'm looking for tools and talent in the draft. I'm looking for immediate contributors in free agency.
I will disagree just a tad about the draft process. And we go back and forth on this one a little bit. Just because you want the best players, that's true. I think it becomes increasingly less so the further you get from the first pick in the draft, because these players become very niche in what their skill set is the further you get down the draft. A lot of these teams, how many players get drafted every single year? 200 something.
272. What was Brock Purdy? 256, whatever. There's a sign on there or something, but 250 something.
A lot of teams' boards are only 150 players. So they have smaller boards than even players that are drafted because they rule out a lot of players because of personality and character, but also because of the scheme fit. If you have a guy round 5 that is purely a press guy and you're living in off coverage, he might be a good player. We've done the scouting on him. We
But
probably aren't going to consider.
why is he purely a press guy? Because he doesn't flip his hips and run fast enough. Okay.
Yes.
That's why he's off my board. So
Yes.
when I get down into the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds, I'm looking for traits. I'm looking for the guy that has a Superman trait, but doesn't have a lot of other things that maybe I can develop. Maybe he's super fast and, but he just hasn't been a very good football player. Okay. Well, I'll try that. Or he's got the frame and the footwork. Let's say Matt Waletzko. He probably went a little bit higher than that, but he was a
4th round.
offensive lineman who's super tall and lean. Maybe I can develop him. So you're looking for traits along that physicality scale. You can't fit into your scheme anyway, because they're probably not good enough to play. That's why they're so far down the board anyhow. Anyway,
Yeah.
Good talk. But for free agents, I would say it makes a much bigger difference for schemes. But I'm looking for mentality and athleticism out of the draft, man.
And character, work ethic,
and that's mentality.
The
That counts in there. That counts in there for mentality. I'll just roll that all up in there.
Mark Schrader, $20. God bless. Nothing to say on this one, but we saw you saying good morning. Hope you're doing well down there in Katy, Texas. Mark, we appreciate you. I think it's freezing cold down there. Scott, is it freezing in Mobile right now? I know you're so far south.
It's foggy. It's about 60, 65 degrees and partial rain.
You're good.
I got to go. The one thing I forgot was my umbrella.
Yeah. Oh, well, you probably pick one up if you had to.
I'll go get one on the way there. I'll go get one on the way there too.
See, this is for me sitting home in my, underneath a blanket here with my warm coffee and whatnot. Give me the rain at the Senior Bowl. Let them practice outside, because I need to see these guys work in the elements, because football is a cold game. A lot of these guys in the South, they've never played a game where it's 30 degrees out there. Obviously not 30 there, but let's see some elements. I want to see how that footing works. But
I want to
Scott,
get good video, and it's tougher in the rain.
Okay, I take it back. All I care about is that. Everything else doesn't matter. We just need to get the shot. I need to see these guys' pores.
Mark, thank you very much. Good to hear from you. And you mentioned this real quick about McVay. I wouldn't want to go after McVay either. The desire. We talk about mentality of these players. Well, there's your concern with McVay. What's his mentality on this? I'm not going to make a move for a guy that could hang it up at any given moment.
Yep.
Of course, some people might say that's Sean Payton too. I disagree a little bit. He was 15 years with the Saints.
Yeah.
Maybe thought he needed a new challenge and stepped away for a year. Missed it. Come back refreshed. I think you can get a better Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Here's a question from Mark too that came in. Again, thank you for the super chat. What do you think of Steve Wilks?
Wilks is interesting because you mentioned earlier the Broncos could have talked to some of these guys and we wouldn't even know. I don't know if that's true for guys who are still currently employed, because you have to ask permission, and I think there's a public announcement when that happens. Wilks is not under contract with anybody.
But they all have agents, and all the agents talk. There are no secret candidates. It might be a day or two, but their agents talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's their job.
It is their job. But Wilks, I would be interested in Wilks coming in as a defensive coordinator if you have to bring in a first-time head coach. Players love him. He did a really good job in Carolina. I think he got really screwed in Arizona as well. So we'll see. And we got to start wrapping up, guys. Scott's got to get out of here. Scott, I'll give you the platform here. Senior Bowl, what's going on? What are you doing? Obviously, you're shooting video. What's today look like? And you guys are going to get Scott and I tonight as well.
Yeah, we'll be in tonight. The first day is in shorts and shirts, so no pads, just helmets and maybe shoulder pads. But there's not very much hitting, so I usually spend the first day watching the quarterbacks and receivers. It's mostly throwing on air. They'll do some one-on-ones. I think the big draw for me today, as far as who's going to have the most interest in the quarterbacks when they're not doing any hitting or too much one-on-ones, is going to be Hendon Hooker. So the Tennessee Volunteers quarterback, he will probably be the first video I post tonight. So when I come back
throwing,
tonight,
right?
Is he not throwing? If he's not, I know he's here and he's on the roster.
He tore his ACL. He's rehab right now. He's visiting everybody and doing the interviews, but he's not on the field.
Then I'm going to go after probably the next one on my list will probably be Duggan, the TCU guy. But quarterbacks are where you get the most action on day one.
Yeah.
So I'll be focusing there a little bit. And then I'm real interested in, I can't pronounce his name either, but the Princeton wide receiver that is the Olympic caliber decathlete.
Yeah.
Who my friend's son is a quarterback up there, and the reports I've gotten from him when I asked him, and he's pretty honest with me about these things. He's not just oh yeah, they're all great. He's pretty harsh on some of these guys. He says, yeah, he's the real deal. So 6'3", 200 pounds, literally Olympic level decathlete. Athlete.
Fly.
Looking forward to seeing him. Andre is a Lizoff, or I'll figure it out when I have to.
Yeah.
But
Isaac
I'll be watching him too pretty closely.
Yeah, from Hawaii, out there in Honolulu, I believe. So a fun player at Princeton will be fun. And guys, we got to wrap it on up here. Scott's got to get going, and you're going to get us again tonight. So make sure you tune back in. Michael Ronquillo saying, great show today. Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Go Michael. Thank you for the big stars earlier. We appreciate the heck out of you. We appreciate all you guys coming in. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at BFB_pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you're joining us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. Got a lot of people still in here on Facebook. Click the thumbs up on the way out, as if you feel like we've earned it. We'd appreciate the heck out of that. Also, as the ticker says there underneath, please subscribe, like, and share to Mile High Huddle. Share it to your social media platforms. We, God, nobody has as much coverage as we do covering the Broncos. I think other than your 3-hour radio shows that you have people only doing that during drive time or whatever, as far as the streaming and everything like that, we're here in the mornings, we're here in the evenings, different shows, different flavors, different takes, different personalities, and always the same.
We have 11 shows.
It's crazy.
We have 11 shows during the week.
It's a lot. But again, a lot of great content producers out there, but we like to think that we do it different and better than anybody, and also including you guys in the chat as well. Probably the most interactive out there. We're not here talking at you. We're here talking with you. You guys drive the shows. So appreciate you. Scott, stay dry today. Any final words, thoughts before we get out of here?
I want to say thanks to our Facebook superstars, Michael Ronquillo, one of those for sure. Apologies, I don't remember everybody that came in. I'm looking at the superstars on YouTube as well. Several folks coming in. Addison, Gary Palmer, Clinton Watson, Andre, Deanna, Thomas. That feels like a little bit of a newer name. So Thomas, welcome and thank you very much. Rock Chalk, Noah 72, Naj, Ethan, and Mark Schrader. Thank you so much. Like we said earlier, your support helps us try and do this a little bit better every time we go out there. Try and get a little bit better, try and add a little bit more bells and whistles, and try and improve. And your support is a big reason why we can do that.
Yeah, 100%. Clayton may be coming in here with some stars. Appreciate you, Clayton. Hopefully you're doing well.
Yep.
And
thank you very much.
Last minute, you guys are killing it. We'll see you guys again later tonight, so don't fret. We'll be back at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Until then, you guys have a great one. Continue to choose kindness and compassion. Talk to you later. Go Broncos.